Now, that particular school of artificial intelligence, some have called it the logicist school, and there's been lots of controversy about it. I recently looked at an article again by Drew McDermott criticizing, even though he started out being interested in logic, criticizing the approach.
Is that a recent article or his old article?
It was his old article. Mm-hmm. Anything to say about the pros and cons? I mean, some people say, well, look, humans aren't all that logical. A lot of what we do is not deduction, but something else. What would be your defense for logic against arguments of that sort?
Well, in the first place, that's right. A lot of the way people draw conclusions is not logical. But in the second place, people recognize the correctness of logical arguments. And quite apart from anything having to do with computers, if their arguments are incomplete as far as logic is concerned, people can be persuaded of that, or even that their arguments are wrong. So after all, logic was invented in terms of communication among humans, not specifically for the use of computers. Now, the people have had, from time to time, expectations of short-term success. And logic is one of those areas which has induced expectations of short-term success. Another one is neural nets and connectionism and so forth. And short-term success has eluded people. And so it looks like human-level artificial intelligence is quite likely to be a long-term proposition. At least it requires new ideas. And with regard to new ideas, you don't know when somebody's going to come up with it or not. Now, the current enthusiasm for short-term success is promoted by Ray Kurzweil. And I looked at, he wrote a book called The Singularity is Near, and I read his chapter on artificial intelligence. And as far as I'm concerned, he has not provided any sufficient basis for his short-term optimism. In fact, the chapter is not technical. It merely what it mainly consists of is reference to various demos.
So he's not pushing any particular point of view about what's going to lead to short-term success in artificial intelligence, right? He just says it's going to happen.
Yeah. And maybe it will and maybe it won't. But if it does, it won't be due to him.
He'll be there to help celebrate, he hopes, because he's also interested in extending his lifespan.
Yes.
Well, now, so somewhere around the time that Stanford decided to have a computer science department separate from mathematics, you helped start, or maybe did start, the Stanford Artificial Intelligence Laboratory under the acronym SAIL. Can you say anything a little bit about how that got started?
Well, when I came to Stanford, and I asked Licklider for some money to do work on artificial intelligence, and he gave me a fairly moderate grant. Then I began to think about what was required for vision, computer vision. And the dominant idea at that time, which is still rather prominent, is making computer programs to do discrimination. For example, discrimination between the pictures of the letters of the alphabet.
Sometimes called pattern recognition or something like that.
The pattern recognition slogan is for something a little more systematic than that, I think. But the first things we're using various ad hoc features. That is, does it have a hole in it? Well, that provides the beginning of a classification. Does it have something sticking down in it?
Selfridge was doing things like that, right?
I don't know whether he was or not. I wasn't thinking about him. But anyway, my idea was that you wanted description, not just discrimination. And my argument for that was that if you wanted to program a robot to pick up something, then it didn't just have to discriminate on the whole picture. It had to be able to locate the object and represent its shape. So I decided to try for robotics, and Licklider was gone by then, but I did apply and got a rather large grant or contract with the DARPA to start the Stanford Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, in particular the amount of money required for our very own PDP-6 computer that later got beefed up into a PDP-10 and then eventually to a KL-10 and so forth.